So we finally have a verified birth chart for Jada Pinkett Smith. Well, by verified, it means that her mother confirmed the time. And 12:38 is very specific. It's not like rounded like 12:30, 12:15. So we're going to go with this. Now, we know that I've actually done a couple of videos in the past with Astrology Explains It All where I talked about Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith, August Alsina a couple of years ago when all of that controversy was going on in terms of that relationship and then people like, were Will and Jada together? Did they take a separation? Whatever. Well, we know that Jada has a new book out and Jada's telling everything. In the new book, she says that actually she was surprised that Chris Rock slapped Will Smith for disrespecting her at the honors because she said her and Will have been separated since 2016 and they didn't view each other as husband and wife. And so she was actually surprised that he did that. And a lot of other things are revealed in this book. A lot of, in terms of even her depression, her struggles with, self esteem. She's talking about ways in which she's coped. She's talking about psychedelics. She's talking about even, she's saying everything. She even reveals that in the interview that she did, I believe it was the interview or the book where she said actually when her and Will, where it was rumored they were getting divorced, that Chris Rock actually tried to take her on a date. So there's tons of things Jada Pinkett Smith is revealing. And we know that people have always been interested in the Smiths in terms of their relationship, their marriage. So many rumors over the years that they have an open relationship. Also, um, you know, they said that they're not getting divorced. Well, like even in the Red Table interview, they basically were just like, we're going to stay in this marriage, whether it's wrong or not. I mean, not wrong, whether it's bad or not. They were laughing about it. So I just want to go into like, Jada's a very interesting person. She comes off as someone who tries to be really in touch with the spiritual side. Sometimes she can come off as she can come off as self-righteous, and I'm not saying that because I have any issue with Jada Pinkett Smith. But she can really come off in in that way because let's look here. Why does Jada come off? And some people think she's sanctimonious. She gets on the red table. She preaches like, she has answers, but yet she's got all these skeletons in her closet. Like these are things people are saying. Now, why does this not surprise me? Jada has a third degree Sagittarius rising. Sagittarius individual, Sagittarius energy, Sagittarius rising. It is all about the message. And no matter who you are, if you have Sag energy in your chart, it is about you're going to be sharing some type of message. Now, does that mean everybody has a big platform like Jada? No. But it sometimes can be the person who's a messenger within their family or within their community or within their immediate surroundings. They are the ones who keep people looking at the bigger picture. But for Jada with that third degree, that's a Gemini degree for those of you who know the degree system that I use. So this is why she's so talkative. This is why she shares so much of her personal business, right? And people are like, why do we need to know this? Well, you keep asking for it, right? So it's very interesting with celebrities where people want to know, but then when you tell too much, it's, oh, why are they telling us this? Why are they telling, we don't need to know that. Now, what I do find very, very interesting about Jada's chart, I'm not going to go in a perfect order. I'm not, when I do a birth chart reading, I would definitely be starting in a particular house and then going in order and talking through the aspects. Because this is a flash reading, this is about a celebrity, I do want to make sure I pinpoint the major things that you would be interested in. So, first thing that stands out to me, well, why we sometimes hear her talking a lot about her spiritual journey and her spiritual beliefs, and she has, a lot of, even when her and Will were rumored to be Scientologists, right? Finding meaning, trying to find meaning in what she believed. I mean, look at the fact that her Jupiter, Jupiter is in rulership in Sagittarius, and it's conjunct her ascendant. So, regardless of what you think about Jada, her path, her truth, speaking the truth is just a part of her journey. Okay. But what also stands out to me is the fact that Venus is in Libra in her 10th house. And the reason that stands out to me is because typically when people have Venus in the 10th house, they are married to their work or they're married to their career. They're in some way their career has something to do with their relationship. And we know that this has been a huge, huge, huge her and Will has been like a huge focus for over 20 years, right? I believe they got married in like 98 or 99 or something like that, 97, something around that range. But her marriage is just as much a part of her career, right? In terms of who she is married to is a big part, and Will is a Libra. So the fact that her Venus is in Libra is very interesting because it does represent this kind of need for partnership, this need for like holding on to the relationship, the marriage, even though they both admit that it's been a struggle. Even the fact that Venus is, look at this, Venus is trining her Saturn, right? When Venus makes an aspect to Saturn, people always have some type of theme with relationships, meaning it's interesting, it's confusing, it's a person who's always in a marriage or in a relationship, or there's struggle, or there is some long term relationship. Venus makes an aspect to Saturn in someone's chart. Look at the relationship, okay? And then of course you can look at if it's a square, if it's a trine, etc. What I find very interesting here is Saturn in seventh house. People with Saturn in seventh house tend to always hold on to a relationship, whether it is a memory, it is a distant lost love, whatever it is. Now, Saturn in Gemini, Saturn doesn't really particularly like being in Gemini, right? Like Saturn is about focus and structure, and Gemini is anything but, right? Gemini energy is about being free. It is about, being curious, right? So with this, we tend to see that regardless of what's happening in the marriage, if it was open relationship versus not, whatever, there is this desire and need to hold on to the idea. 6th degree, Virgo degree, she is a Virgo. So the interesting thing about her Virgo energy is like trying to make things work is a part of her. But then when you look at the fact that she is a Sagittarius rising, there's also in a Mars in Aquarius, there's always this kind of rebellious nature that you'll notice. And people are even questioning. They're like, why is she bringing all these things up about Will? She's embarrassing him. He stood up to Chris Rock for her, and then she's turning around saying that she doesn't know why he did that. Like, right? That it's embarrassing. And people are just, looking at different things over the years and trying to make certain, assumptions that she's, Will is more into her than she was into him, but also, she has this long lost love for her deceased friend Tupac. All these different things. There's also been alleged rumors that in their open relationship, Will has also dated people, and there's some names that have come up. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if there is some type of open dynamic to their relationship at some point in time, whether that's because they separated and they're like, look, we're going to stay married in money. We're going to stay married, but we're going to be able to date who we want to date. Now, what also we know she's a Virgo. I didn't go into that detail just yet. She has a Virgo stellium, right? So regardless, she has 4 planets in Virgo. Obviously, when we look at the separation, the degrees are a little bit higher when it comes to her Pluto and the Sun. That Sun conjunct Pluto is why she is so intense. She is so intense in terms of herself, her identity, and her goals. Regardless of whether she's with Will or not, Jada is a person who's going to want to be herself and attain her own goals. The reason I also bring up she's got a free spirit nature about her, she has her sun at the 25th degree. So though she is a Virgo, and because she's a Virgo, you often see her internalize, explain a lot. Like she has an answer for everything, and I think that really comes from the Virgo and the Sag mix. The Virgo ability to analyze things, and the Sag ability to carry the message. The Sag ability to be free enough to be able to, in confidence that Sag has in its message. She also has a moon in Virgo. She thinks about things a lot. But before I get into that, the 25th degree is more of a fire Aries degree. That is entrepreneurship. So we know, though she has benefited from her marriage and her, Will Smith was a higher profile Hollywood name when she married him. Now, I've known of Jada Pinkett Smith since she was on a different world. But Will had more mainstream fame when they married, whereas Jada Pinkett Smith was, I knew of her, but many people knew her. She was in more of the, the black shows, black TV shows, the black centered movies that were formed for a black audience. And we know that Will Smith had that crossover appeal, right? And so I always knew who she was. I knew who Will was. Many of us who, knew who they were. But Will had more of that Hollywood profile that she benefited from the marriage, right? Just naturally. So with the sun being in the 10th house, this also means like I think at some point Jada likely would have gotten tired of just being Mrs. Smith. That there is a need for her to claim who she is, regardless of this marriage. Okay, so that's something just to keep in mind there about why she's doing what she does. It doesn't really matter how you feel about it. This is a part of who she is. What also is noticeable here is her moon in the ninth house. Her Mercury in the ninth house is more important, in my opinion, right now, because all of the most of the information that's come out about their marriage has come from Jada recently. But we also know Will have said certain things like it's not my job to maintain my wife's happiness. She has to be happy on her own. And I know people can have different opinions on that, but that's something that people said. Oh, it's showing that they understand the need to be, even though they're married, to be their own people, their own person. Um, because of that, though, Jada is very much open about the things that she's experienced, right? She's talked on the Red Table Talk. Her show is now, I think, canceled now, but she's talked a lot about her upbringing. Her mother, her mother looks just as young as she does. If you look at her mom was, growing up, her mom was a drug addict. Jada went through a lot. I think she witnessed her mom being abused. Jada's talked a lot just about just the different phases she's gone through in life and different struggles that she's had. Her Mercury's at the ninth degree, 9, Sagittarius energy. Okay, again, I have a degree system that I use. It is from the late astrologer Nicola Stojanovic. And if you go to my video on my other channel, I talk about degrees and where I got the system and how I tailor the system. The point being, Mercury and Virgo in the ninth house. First of all, Mercury now has to work in a house, right? That it is, it's not native to. Mercury prefers 3 and 6. But Mercury rules over Virgo. And so she's a very intelligent woman. Regardless of whether you agree with her or not, she's always going to say something that makes sense. Now, because of that, the problem is people like her will justify things. So you're going to see Jada justify certain things that people disagree with. Like, whoa, why would you say that? She's going to be able to justify why she said it because it's a Mercury and Virgo. She's thought um, so deliberately about what she's going to say, how she's going to say. Oh, Jada's smart. Don't ever think Jada said something and she didn't realize how it was going to come across. She's a Virgo woman. Not only that, she's a Virgo woman with a Virgo stellium, and her moon is conjunct her Mercury. She has to speak what she feels because otherwise, it's going to be hard for her to feel because she's not it. She's sensitive, but she's not very emotional. Okay, it's a lot with Virgo women. Sensitive, but not emotional. That's a whole different conversation. We all have emotions, but I mean, she's not by default an overly emotional person where you're going to see her cry on screen and do all these things. She's going to be a thinker. She's going to try to rationalize things. And so, with her Moon conjunct Mercury, that is her way of coping with how she feels. That 15th degree, that's a Gemini degree as well. So, the fact that she has these degrees which show speaking, truth, message, all of those are going to be really, really important. Now, so that's all I really want to say about that right now. I'll go back to this 10th house. What's interesting is Venus conjunct Pluto. This represents even like the power of the marriage, the power of the relationship, her association with Will over the years. There is clearly this energy around her career is focused on relationships, it's focused on connections, it is focused on transformation. She is someone who transformed over the course of her career. Remember, I mean, she went from, she was on a different world and then she was in like some other movies and then she started to get like more mainstream movies. I believe like Matrix. She was in the Matrix, I think. Well, she let me just double check. She also had a rock band. So she's a woman that like she's not done yet because she's someone who wants to make sure she makes her own decisions, her own she has her own mark on life and not just being Mrs. Will Smith. It's interesting that her midheaven is in Virgo, right? This is someone who's careful and cautious about her career. Improving herself is important. She's also at the point where she's trying to find the best suit for herself in terms of what her career is. Virgo energy does best when it is working on something, fixing something, improving something. So if her new image is around self-improvement, don't be surprised if Jada does something around wellness, okay? Because she's been trying to find that niche, that fit, right? Because she's gone through talk show host. She was an actress. She had a rock band. Like she's done all these different things, and she's truly trying her hand and figuring out what it is that she wants to work on. But again, she also has a mutable rising. So a mutable rising, especially in the sign of Sagittarius, is not afraid to dabble, try new things, experience things before it firmly, it firmly settles on something. Her sun is conjunct her midheaven. Her moon is conjunct her midheaven. Her career is important to her, but it's also got to represent who she really is and what she feels she is. This is her rebelling against decades of having to keep things hush hush, having to preserve her image with Will. Them both having to preserve their image in their marriage. So a lot of what you're seeing is her trying to really craft and mold and get things correct. It doesn't matter if you think it's a mess, right? That Virgo energy in her chart, she is trying to cultivate and really show fully this is who I am. This is what it is. Okay. Mars in Aquarius, I'm gonna talk about that in a moment, but let's look at this. I want to go back to Venus. Venus in Libra. First degree means there's always some fiery nature to the marriage or relationship. The person always needs a little bit of individuality. At 1 in 25. Also 13, which is not in her chart, like Aries energy, but Venus is conjunct Uranus. Was people with Venus conjunct Uranus, it's typically good. For a while, the marriage structure worked for them. But Venus conjunct Uranus, it means it's always going to be something unique, different in terms of how the union comes together, or in terms of how the people relate to one another. So the fact that they've had these rumors over the years of having open marriage and different things in terms of people's insight into what is their marriage was or is what is I don't know, right? It is related to this fact that Venus is conjunct Uranus, and also even her Venus conjunct Pluto was like this inability to let go. Even if you look far apart enough, some programs would say that even though they're different signs, that some programs would call Venus conjunct the Sun, because the 25 and 1 is not too far apart, even though they're different signs. So even Venus conjunct the Sun could be this like image, the marriage. Her career is centered around her relationship, regardless of what we want to say, what we know. What I also find is interesting about her, the Tupac reference of like even Willow, their daughter, writing when she was a kid this letter about dear Tupac, mommy misses you, and all these things. Remember, Willow never met Tupac, right? Tupac had been, died before they had the kids. Especially since the son Jaden is older than Willow. But I find it interesting that Tupac was a Gemini, and he has Saturn, right? And she has Saturn in Gemini. Remember, Saturn is about long term. It's the things you clutch to. It's the things you hold on to. It is what you have the most discipline, the most commitment to. So I did find that a little bit interesting there. Now, Mars is interesting in her second house. So Mars in the second house, money. We're thinking of money. We're thinking of how someone can sustain their money. Before I get to Mars, look at what's on the cusp, right? Capricorn. Well, reputation, finances that are in order, finances that are that produce some sense of passing money over. Capricorn, the second house, can be about doing things the correct way, the right way, um, playing the long game. What also is interesting in terms of Capricorn is the ruler of Capricorn, Saturn, is in that seventh house of partnership. Her and Will's money being tied together. Jada was she was an actress before she met Will, right? But this has benefited her, right? It has benefited her to have money that is combined in this marriage. Her Mars being an Aquarius also can mean though she also was meant to or she wanted to make money in other ways. This is why she didn't just stay an actress. Mars and Aquarius can take you for a ride. Mars and Aquarius energy can be unpredictable. It can sometimes be unstable. It is not following any sense of rules. It is basically executing things based on what it believes is for the greater cause, the greater nature of it, right? Mars and Aquarius energy is going to sometimes move in a way that is unpredictable. You can't really understand sometimes what it's doing, but it always knows why. Her Mars is also trining Uranus. This is, like I said, this is a woman who craves freedom. She craves individuality. She craves expressing herself. This is why we got to look at the whole chart. Yes, she has those Virgo traits. She's careful in what she says. Even if you don't think Jada should have said this in her book or that, she knows exactly what she's doing, right? But her as a Virgo woman, there's also this, if you even look at the way in which she explains things, she doesn't always look at things, she looks at things through a very procedural way. Look at the way she explains things. So she is Virgoan, but Look at the rest of her chart, and you're going to see there's a need for freedom. There's a craving there. Now, last thing I want to touch on, her. I'm not going to go into too much detail about her North Node being an Aquarius, but I definitely would say that a person with a North Node in Aquarius is here to influence groups. They're here to, in some way, impact people around them. So even though she is famous, I would also be curious to know how she engages with the people in her immediate environment, because this would mean third house are people we are familiar with. The third house can even be people we've known for a long time. It could be, people we are related to. The third house is local. So her North Node being an Aquarius also is reminding her of the importance of influencing not just the world, or not just, and again, there's nothing wrong with what she's done. She had a talk show. People like the Red Talk Table. I don't know what it's called. People liked it, but it's also the importance here of her making sure her mission is rooted and grounded in something that is going to help those around her. So part of her North Node is about her friends or immediate circle of people, and how she is, in some way, shape, or form, she is also like helping them through whatever it is that they're going through, whatever they're experiencing. That Aquarius energy can be deal with friendship, but also Aquarius can deal with helping people like release the shackles of their lives, like helping people see that there's another way to live, there's another way to do things. And when it's in the third house, it's 14th degree can also mean she's helping people stay stable. Yeah, we don't know these people beyond what they share with us. So sometimes when I see something in a celebrity's chart, we might not be privy to it. We might be like, what? But that's not really for us to fully understand unless we know the person. Her South Node being in Leo is interesting because we know Leo is about fame, it is about talent, but her South Node's in the ninth house. So coming into this world, most likely being familiar with being seen, being noticed. But as you see, as Jada's getting older, she's understanding more about who she is and what she wants, and she's dissing the she's ditching the image. She could have chose. Again, I'm not saying she's right, wrong, Will's right or wrong, but she could have chose to just stay quiet, pretend her and Will are fine, not say anything, just be a loyal wife, and that was it. But she chose not to. Again, whether we agree with it or not is not the point I'm making right now. Because her South Node is Leo, but her North Node is requiring her to deal more with ideology, deal more with thought, understand more her place within the society, but also what she can give back to her immediate environment. And I think it's interesting she has her North Node in the third house, where she has energy in the ninth house as well. Her telling her story, writing a book. Yes, I think this was something in her chart to express her life, talk about it on her talk show, release it, explain what she has. Now she has a lot of critics right now. Okay, she's got, and it was that ascendant, that ascendant square in Saturn. Your reputation could be in jeopardy when you have that Aquarius squaring Saturn, right? I mean, not Aquarius. I'm sorry, that ascendant squaring Saturn, right? You have to make sure the way in which you move supports what it is that you built. So I do say that she has to make sure that because some people are claiming she's a narcissist and she doesn't care about Will, and why would she do this to her kids and all these things. So I do think like this energy in her chart, she does have to be careful with balancing that out. You're trying to tell the truth, but at the same time, you do have to understand the way in which it's going to come out. And that's would mean like using that Virgo energy in her chart to be very strategic. And I think she's being strategic, right, in some aspects of this. But that is something just to keep in mind there. But her book, third house deals with writing. The third house deals with communication, telling our story from our past. Fourth house is more past, but third house is our early life. Ninth house is publishing. She has the moon in Virgo. She has the moon conjunct Mercury. So telling her story is a way for her to heal as well. Okay. Now, she has Jupiter conjunct Neptune, both at the 0 degree. A 0 degree is an unformed degree. Like it's not a 1, it's not a 29. It's really inexperienced energy. So this is why it's likely taking her a long time to try to figure out her spiritual beliefs and figure out who she is. A lot of people will say, "Oh, she's fake deep. She's trying too hard." I actually think, based on her chart, she is actually pretty deep in terms of her understanding of her own spiritual beliefs. The people around her likely benefit from this. But also, you have to understand the fact that when we look at the 12th house, it is the house that deals with the unconscious, it deals with the hidden. And so, with her, there's also the situation with Sag energy where it can go to extreme. And she also has Mars in Aquarius. Mars in Aquarius is cult like energy. Ninth house energy could be cult house. Now, cult like energy. Her moon and Mercury in Virgo, I wouldn't say is as much, but she can influence people mentally. I would definitely say she has the gift of influencing people mentally. That might be more people in her circle, right? People that she's around. She definitely has that kind of aura about her. But again, sometimes this energy goes off the deep end in terms of their ideology and their beliefs and their practices. So if some of the things that she does can seem extreme to some people. So I would say that's something to watch. Becoming overly sanctimonious, overly, preachy, over the top in terms of what you believe and what you think and what you want people to do and how you think people should live their lives and things like that. But for the most part in her chart, she's influential, but I don't think I think she's the type of person that if she influences people, she can take advantage of that. But I don't think in this chart, it's not showing she's intentionally manipulative. It's more of a, I'm going to benefit from whatever relationships I have with people, being a Libra 10th house. I'm going to benefit. All right. First degree, even there's a little bit of self preservation that is needed for her to feel good about the relationships that she has with people. But just to sum it up, Saturn in the 7th house, people have a hard time letting go. She's got Jupiter and Neptune in her 12th house. Neptune rules the 12th house. Jupiter used to rule the 12th house traditionally. Yeah, she's on a spiritual journey. And transformation is a key part of that too, with Scorpio on the cusp of her 12th house. Again, we don't have to fully understand what she's going through. We don't even have to agree. You could think it's being fake or whatever. But there is a spiritual mission that she is on. And I think that has further separated her from this image that she's had as a wife, where a lot of the things that she had to show wasn't really what she felt she was. And I think that's what we're seeing here. Now, the 10th house, her career obviously is public. We see her. She shines the most in terms of her goals and her accomplishments, but also marriage is a key part of that as well. Her connectivity to will, Venus and Libra, 10th house. Again, even the Libra connection, the Libra draw, the attraction, him being a Libra. Okay. And those are the most important ones. Her, being very open and honest to a fault. That's that 9th house energy, right? Having those planets in 9th house, especially Moon conjunct Mercury. So that's it for this. I don't want to go too long with this Jada Pinkett Smith video, but I did want to share some of the things I noticed about her chart, especially as she's in the celebrity news lately.